Hello, friends. Let me know if you can hear and see me okay. We're just going to have ourselves a little hobby hangout. Because why? Well, I wanted to. That's about it. That's all I got for you today. um, I was just sitting here. I kind of had a strange day, actually. And so, yeah, I was just kind of doing some house chores and stuff like that. And then I sat down to do some painting. And after about 45 minutes, I was like, man, why don't I just flip on the camera and we can hang out with some people once they filter on in, if they do. So, hey, Wargamer Willie, what's up, buddy? I am sitting here painting my Warhammer Cursed City. And so here I have the three vampire-ish characters. Yeah. Let me see if I can do something. I'm going to play around with the lights a little bit. For some reason, the way that the lights function is it's just not bright enough for me, but the webcam does not so much love it when I... can I adjust this? It's like too intense, but I need it to be able to see, so I apologize, but I'm happy to answer any questions about what you're looking at while I'm doing it. So let's go over here and grab some paints. Let's see. I'm looking for fish skin. Deep skin flesh. There we go. Jocelyn, hey. First time in direct contact. Perfect painting session. I'm on Skull Reapers as Curse City is not arrived. Well, that is awesome. Yeah. Grab yourself. What is it? Some Skull Reapers? Skull Reapers. That is Skull Reapers. That's corn. Yeah. Good models. For some reason, man, they just love their go-to words at G-Dubs as far as Reapers and skulls and all that kind of stuff. So what I did this is I basically painted them almost identical to what am I trying to say? Some of the undead flesh I had done on other models, painting them like Deepkin essentially, where you have the Deepkin flesh and then you put a wash in there, which kind of dictates what the shadows are, and then you just go over with Deepkin or Iron Rack flesh at the end of it all. But yeah, let's see. Hold on, I'm still getting the music balance right in my ear. If it's too loud, I can't hear myself think. And there we go. Now I got the chat pulled back up. Hot pockets! Yes. Oh, man. I haven't eaten a Hot Pocket in, years. It's the one of those things like the minute you make the mistake of looking at the health information on it, you're like, oh, I can't. I can't justify this anymore to my body. Let's see. Just popped in to say that my fiance and I really love your videos. Oh, thank you so much, Adam. Listen to them while we build and paint figures. Thank you. Plan to use the Underworld's vampires models in Curse City? Yeah, good call. Good call. Hi, Doug. Love your work. Glad I managed to catch you live. Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for the kind words. I was just sitting here by myself, and I was like, you know what? Let's hang out with some people. It always makes painting go by way faster if you're chatting with folks. Don't tell my DM, but this is why I love to paint during Soulbound games. it just makes everything go by so much faster. I get so much done because my brain is in a single place. I'm all focused out. But yeah, gives my hands something to do. So let me ask you this: what is everybody else working on? Because I'm kind of in a weird middle of the day thing, so I'm not quite sure where all y'all are located. You know, I can tell pretty much like, you know, what part of the world, you know, is like off for the day, that kind of stuff. I have no idea at this point. I never recorded this time. This was very spur of the moment. I got done with some Fallout 76 because I got really, I was a good boy and I got ahead on all my notes for videos I want to release for next week. And I was like, you know, treat yourself 2021. All right. I'm just about to start with some Vandus Hammerhand. Okay, right on. That's a throwback. I love it. Is this the first Vandus that, or I guess the only Vandus you've built? I guess I didn't. I mean, it's one of those things like some people get into Stormcast and they just never touch the named characters. And so they'll do them later. Okay. So yeah, I decided I'm going to put the most work into the hero models, you know, because I'm going to be playing these live with folks, and so I think in the interest of time, it makes the most sense to get stuff done fairly quickly. But honestly, you know, with the kind of camera and that kind of stuff that I have, like for actually playing the game, you wouldn't be able to see really that much detail. So I was like, you know, let's just focus on getting stuff done. Let's see. Up in Sweden. Can't wait for this to arrive. Yeah, converted Lord Celestin on Dracoth from my Helden Hammer. Okay, cool, sweet. I'm just getting off work. It's 5 p.m. here, so lucky live stream. Oh, sweet. Almost midnight in South Africa. Whoa. In France. That's why I don't have the occasion to see your streams. Well, but man, I'm so glad I caught some of y'all. It's one of those things that I try to be very conscious of you know, the global nature of the hobby, but there's only so many hours that I can do. You know, because one of those things like, could I technically paint at midnight? Yeah. Am I going to be talkative and enjoyable? No. No, I pretty much turn to a pumpkin after 10 o'clock at night. You can ask Shu and the Rerolling One guys. Whenever we had game nights that went on a little bit too long, I would just kind of take a seat in the corner and be like, y'all do whatever you want. Let's see. Hey, Alejandro. I wish there were more named characters who narratively fit into sub-factions. Yeah, or any sub-faction specifically. Yeah. They have a few, but because I think about like Brock Grunson of the KO, you know, he has a Skyport, but narratively he's kind of everywhere. Same thing with Volturnus with the Deepkin. Let's see. Generally, I don't know. I have to be in a very specific mood to want to do like a named character. For me, I generally like making up my own, but I mean, there's no real reason. Let's see. Are the 3 vampire ladies supposed to be a single boss? Well, it's 1 lady and 2 dudes, and yes, that's my understanding, is like they are a evil trifecta of murder and mayhem. I'll be honest, I have not had a ton of time to really dive into the book as far as the lore for the individual characters, just because once I did the video on the game in general, I kind of had to turn my attention to some other stuff, and the week got busy and it came at a really weird time. So I had to like kind of refocus and reprioritize. I was like, I can't get into this right now. I'll get buried. And yeah, just always trying to not let myself get too burnt out. Wonderful. Now I'm really just going to throw a heavy wash on all these stone bits. And I'm pretty much going to call them done. I'm going to do all my basing in one big fell swoop. Let's see. Does the Wanderer Girl reveal any new lore for the Wanderer Elves? Not really. In fact, I can pretty much give you a firm no. All we really know, because like the whole thing is that she like went through like a voluntary exile, is my understanding, and so because of that, the much of her story is like highlighted on her and her character and why she did it over like the faction that she left. And I think they did that just to like leave themselves an opening to write whatever they want later. Like, we'll figure it out. How was putting the models together? So I talked about it a little bit in my live stream that I did on Saturday, but for the most part, everything went together really spectacularly easily for the entire set. I actually had very little problems, which was a real nice... I don't know, some of the models from like Soul Wars and stuff, I had problems with some of the way the miniatures like slid together, and I had to use way more glue than... I don't know, it was a mess. But for these, I think everything went together really, really easily and simply. I think just because of the sheer amount of stuff on the sprue, you just gotta go one at a time. Like, really, I can't recommend enough. I see some people when they build models on YouTube and they like clip all the bits off and then go back and try to figure it out. And I'm like, that would be so stressful with the sheer amount of models that are in this set. Would not recommend that. But anyway, yeah. Let's see. What allegiance in death can the new units be used in? I know Soulblight, but if you go to the Games Workshop page, just because I don't have the book near me to be able to tell you, if you go to the Games Workshop page, you can actually see all the War Scrolls. Even though the product is sold out, if you go down to downloads, you can actually see all the War Scrolls for them in AOS. And I actually have a odd question for the chat. I was just going to ask, have you guys ever heard of a game? And I ask this because I've been starting to talk to some folks who wanted it covered on the channel. Have you ever heard of a game called Conquest: Last Argument of Kings? And if so, what is your opinion of it? Let's see. Hey Doug, jumped on the live stream. So is Curse City worth? I'm kind of on the fence, and I got a money ball and hurt in my pocket. You know, I make a point of not telling people that things are worth it or not, for the same reason of like I don't know you and what you value. in games for me. I was going to buy this. Games Workshop was kind enough to send me a copy for pretty much doing exactly what you're looking at now. If you're looking for Age of Sigmar models, I probably say no. The heroes are not spectacular in any sense. The death stuff is really weird in the sense that like all of the named characters for the death dudes have to be taken as a single unit, which is so strange. Like one giant, I don't know, formation type thing. So I don't know. There's that. So that's a 100% you thing. If you're just looking for a self-contained game, I can tell you there's a lot of replayability in it just because of the nature of how the game functions. There's different missions you can go on and different things you have to kind of keep track of. Yesterday I bit the bullet and I got my skellies all out of the way. They're just very simple. Again, like I really wanted to keep things easy, so I just did some bone color, red on all the cloth, silver, some bronze, and then gave it a wash. That's basically it. The basing is going to be a largely black style of basing. Let's grab, what do we want to grab next? Oh, we're on the stream. Let's do something fun. The legally not Vargolf model. Let's see. Good morning, Doug. Without spoiling, how'd you enjoy the Broken Realms tech list? I mean, I already had a whole week where I spoiled every possible detail of it. How did I enjoy it? Acts 1 and 3, I loved. Act 2, I did not care for. It seemed very tacked on. Yeah, that's about the best I can give without spoilers. I don't know. I mean, that's the problem with spoilers. Iowa represent. Hey, hey. Nick, where are you at? What part of Iowa? I'm over in Eastern, like right by Iowa City and Cedar Rapids. Just gonna get a big thin layer of Rakarth flesh. I want to meet just about everybody in Iowa. Mainly because it's so much easier to get around than Washington was. And I did want to meet everybody there, but I just wasn't able to. Des Moines. Okay, cool, cool. Cool, cool. So largely what I'm doing now is just trying to pick out all the skin and where it kind of meets some of the fur and stuff. This is the model that everyone seems to be excited about. Honestly, never much of a Vargolf guy. But when I did the review of this box, I got like 4 people in my DMs on Instagram be like, "Hey, if you're not gonna play this, I can like take this." I was like, it's literally the first thing I said when I did the review, that I can't wait to play this. Like, okay, cool, 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 cool. Oh, hey, Spezia, thank you so much. Tough, is that literally a Vargolf or another? It's like they call it something else. Like a Varsk fear. I don't know. You know, honestly, I only kind of half try when it comes to the weird made up words that Games Workshop goes for anymore. Yeah, because and then whenever I misspell it, someone corrects me. I'm like, you know what? You can't misspell a fake word. Nothing to compare it to. I'm right. I'm going to say that I'm right. And anyone who disagrees with me, that's cool. Not going to change my mind. It's a Varg skier. There we go. Closely resembling but legally distinct version of the Vargolf. Pretty sure it was, but remember that being chunkier. Oh yeah, the actual Vargolf. He, I think he's resin now. I had a metal one back when I owned one, but yeah, the actual Vargolf is kind of like lurching forward in his pose, which I mean I think he looks pretty cool, but. It wasn't, I mean, he looks cool. It wasn't one of those models like, oh man, I need a new one of these. I just feel like it wasn't very high on my needs a new sculpt list. Although I guess anything with fine cast is for a lot of folks. I mash up and misspell names on purpose to set people up. Let's see. What's everyone's favorite model from the set? Mine is... I don't know her name, but it's the... I call her American Joan of Arc. It's the female leader hero with like the giant eagle head wrapped around. She has the big claymore. I like her, and I like the Sigmar priestess, who I call Miss Cleo. Because her name's like Cleona or something like that, but it just reminds me of Miss Cleo, the commercial. I mean, that's a deep cut to like early thousands, 90s culture in America. A very specific time of just the call me now, if anyone remembers that. Anyway. She was a hotline psychic back in the day. Imelda Braskov. Sure. Yeah, why not? We'll call her that. I don't know who Brienne of Tarth is. Sorry. That name, people just be like, yeah, it's like this. And it's pretty much been in the comments of any video that I've talked about Curse City of like, oh yeah, Brienne of Tarth. I'm like, I don't. Cool. I love inside jokes. I hope to be a part of one day. Okay, so I'm going to get a second thing to paint up just because he's going to need time to dry. He's got a lot of large areas. So what can we work on in the meantime? I'm trying to like alternate between, like a unique model and then a larger unit. Tell you what, let's it makes it easier when it comes to painting them. Let's grab some zombies. Helps me keep my sanity at least. Zombies. 2, 4, 6, 8. Should be 2 more. 1, 2 right here. And actually, for them, I actually want to do Rakarth as well. Game of Thrones. Tall, fighty, short-haired woman. Okay. Cool. Never watched it. Actually, that's not true. I watched the first season and I was like, nah. Not for me. But that's back when Game of Thrones was popular and people actually liked it as a show, and so it used to be that I couldn't talk about how much I don't like Game of Thrones, and then the rest of the world, much like with Flesh Eater Courts, I'll remind you, caught up with me and was like, this is pretty terrible. So there's me at the end just going, vindication! Took y'all 8 years to catch up, but here I am, knowing things. I'm not actually that full of myself. Please talk about the KO model, his lore. Well, I haven't really had a chance to read a bunch of the lore, so I am sorry. I am not super knowledgeable. The only thing that there is a little blurb that I believe is copy-paste from the website. But I've been too busy building and priming and all that kind of stuff to be able to jump into the lore, unfortunately. I'm not much of an on-demand channel. Let's see. Okay. So, things that I am excited about when it comes to this game, I'll just kind of dive into a topic here, is, well, it's one thing. The different missions. So I kind of touched on that earlier. So if you don't know, rather than just playing through the game, Silver Tower, if you're not familiar, basically the goal of that was you have to collect 8 shards, like magical shards, and then when you have them all, then you can actually go fight the Gaunt Summoner at the end of the tower. That's the idea. You were trying to earn your ticket to the boss fight. And so, in theory, the game, or actually the whole experience, should last 9 games. 8 to get the keys, and then the 9th one to face down the boss. And while that wasn't a problem, you know, how many times can you replay it before it gets a little stale, right? Each of those games might take you an hour and a half or so, but even when you start adding new enemies, like, it got stale pretty quick. So their approach for this one was, not only are you trying to kill Rajikar the wolf, but at the same time, you have to make sure that the populace keeps their hopes up. So you have to like do things to satisfy them and make them feel like there's hope, and also lessen Rajikar's grip on the city in a military sense. And so when you go to play a game, the campaign can last literally as long as you want it to. Because if you wanted it to, you could just keep doing missions to make peasants happy and fight Rajikar's forces. But then, if you want to play the main quest, you can take up what they call quest battles, which is just, it's literally just playing the main story, right? We have to go hunt down Rajikar, starting with all of his lieutenants, and then working our way up to him for the final boss fight. So I actually really like that as a setup, I'll be honest. Mainly I don't know. I like the idea of like having other things to do besides just running straight up to the boss and punching him in the face. Because in addition to that, there's also scavenge missions where like you can go and try to get unique artifacts and that kind of stuff. There are artifacts and special weapons in this game that your guys can earn, which is a nice touch. So yeah, I don't know. All those things are just rad. Like I like the idea. You can lose the entire, I'm going to call it a campaign, but I just mean like your overall kind of collections of games. You can lose the campaign by letting the populace get too scared, by letting Rajikar have too much control, all those kinds of things. There's a lot to kind of keep your mind on. Well, that's good for me because when I do start playing games of this, basically the idea I'm going to do is have sort of like a rotating schedule of, we'll do a couple missions of, they call them hunt missions, where you're just going out and basically slaying a bunch of zombies for the sake of just making people feel better. So we'll do a couple of those, and then every once in a while we'll rotate into a quest mission, and then we'll spend some time, making the populace feel safe. And basically rotating out mission types is a great way to extend the overall thing. But then also it just ensures that when you actually do have those boss fights, they go as you would hope. How about that? That way we don't have a thing where a new player picks up the reins to say, like, the witch hunter guy, and witch hunter guy never stood a chance and totally sucks. Hope there will be rivalry with the other players, like in Silver Tower. I don't think so, except the Battle Mage. Rivalry. I don't think there's really any form, at least rules-wise, for rivalry between the characters. I will double check. I mean, I know that you're going to be competing for some limited stuff, like, if one artifact lands in the group, only one person gets it, kind of a thing. But I don't know much beyond that. Rajikar, the cooler Rajikar. Let's see. Doug, does Curse City have solo rules as Blackstone Fortress did? Yep. Yeah, it's actually exactly the same. You just, the one player takes control of 4 characters. All that matters in terms of rules and that kind of stuff is that you start each game with, or each journey, I should say, with 4 heroes. That really seems to be the only thing that truly matters. I'm just gonna thin this out and throw a very, very thin. Actually, I'm good with that. So yeah, that makes it really simple. And basically, once I get enough stuff built and ready to roll, I'm just gonna do a few games, like a solo session, just so I personally can learn kind of learn the rules and that kind of stuff, see what questions come up and interactions and that kind of thing. So I'm going to be playing the first player rules, so I can I'll probably eventually do like a review of that, like, hey, if you were looking to buy this specifically for that, here's something you can check out. But yeah. Let's see. Nick, hey Doug, just want to say I'm getting into AOS because of you. Oh, buddy, thank you so much. Thank you. That's just the kindest compliment ever. It's just, I made my excitement infectious, but that's so great to hear, dude. Welcome. I hope everyone in the hobby is nice and warm and welcoming, and that your Facebook journeys will be safe. Because basically just don't listen to anything on Facebook. There's some salt mine groups everywhere, but enjoy your hobby, find out what makes you happy, and lean into it. I'm just gonna throw have some vaguely white clothes here. Basically, I intend to do the bare minimum amount of work on these zombies and just douse them in a super cool wash from Secret Weapon Miniatures where basically it's called sewer water. I've talked about it before. It's perfect for Nurgle stuff, but it just makes everything. It's like basically if you mixed I guess you could make the same thing if you mixed some Nuln Oil, Agrax, and a Athonian Camo Shade, where it does have that gross grittiness of the browns. There's definitely some green tones in there. But yeah. And that's how we're gonna easy street that one. Because honestly, like I said, I'm like 99% sure like there's not going to be a ton of detail with the webcam and stuff that I have access to as far as streaming and sharing and that kind of thing, so it will not matter terribly. Pretty excited I got a copy. My plan is to build as much as possible when the box arrives Friday or Saturday. You can do it pretty quickly. Yeah, I built mine in 2, I guess, sessions. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I mean, I mentioned all my warnings and that kind of stuff on my live stream, but yeah, just be really careful taking the old man hero that has like the death mask or whatever his name. I think it's Glimscry or something is his name. That dude and the what is his name? The watch captain, the skeletal hero who has like his halberd standing out or out to the side. Both of those have a lot of very fiddly edges that break very, very easily. So required a combination of profanity and super glue to have them back on where they should be. Let's see. Based in Gur in the Bone Desert, thinking they will defend the meat supply in Gur. Oh, sweet. That's awesome, man. Okay. Just looking at the various outfits. I want to have some of them look like they would be funeral appropriate. So like white dresses on some of the ladies. Probably just generally black slacks on the dudes. But generally keeping it very simple. I'm not looking for a masterpiece here. Let's see what. Okay, so I have here a 50-50 mix pre-done of Agrax Earthshade and medium. It's still brown, but it makes it just a hair thinner than it normally would be. And we're just focusing on the skin. Let's see, how are we all today? Doing well. I had kind of a strange day. I was supposed to get a windshield replaced, and then turns out that they didn't have the one I was looking for in stock. So it's kind of a weird thing where you kind of get all set for the day, left the house, ready to do all my errands, and then kind of couldn't do them. So it was just kind of a weird, unexpected free day. Which, you know, I'm not opposed to, but kind of threw off the schedule. Let's see. Death stuff is very nice since I got Nighthaunt Army together. Gonna give them at least some vampire stuff for possible allies. Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure they'll be able to. At least have some kind of fun interaction. One would hope, right? Okay. So my plan is to let this guy dry. We're going to take a dry brush with some palette witch flesh and kind of pick out the highest ridges. And then we can work on the fur and the little webbing between his arms and not wings and junk. Hey Doug, get yourself a dent pull repair set. Why would I do that? Dent pull repair set. I don't find my windshield to be dented very often. It does a whole lot of cracking. Hey, my dudes and dudettes. Hey, hey. We are just trying to speed cranks through some zombies and a not Vargolf. I'm told it's a Varg skier. You know, I won't lie to you. I feel like if anyone has a topic that they want to throw out there, here's the thing. I was excited to hang out with people because, one, I like hanging out and it makes things go faster, but I also don't have anything that I've been super anxious to talk about just because when I think about it, things that have been on my radar lately have been looking at a new game because I'm a sucker for any kind of game, apparently. So I've been looking at, I mentioned it before, Conquest, Last Argument of Kings. It's by a company called Parabellum, miniature company out of Greece, I think. And yeah, a few awesome people in my community reached out to me and asked if I would be interested. And then the second I expressed any form of interest, one of their representatives reached out to me and was like, we would love for you to chat about our game. So that's why I asked earlier. But, like, you know, I've been doing a lot of looking into that, and then I also play a lot of Fallout 76. So, you know, just basically, you know, whatever nobody wants to talk about, that's pretty much what I do outside of this channel. All the things that people who watch this channel hate, that's all the stuff that I normally do. Which, you know, aside from not helping the imposter syndrome, is a great way to escape some, you know, burnout or whatever when it comes to AOS. But it makes for hard discussions when I'm like, hey guys, let's talk about this. And everyone's like, that sucks. Let's see. Love your videos. My wife and I got into the hobby and bought Soul War set. Any suggestions? Have fun. Just play and have fun. That's all I got for you. That's my only suggestion. If you're looking for like future purchases, I would say really think critically about the games that you're playing and just ask yourself, did I have fun with this? And if so, what did I enjoy about it? and that'll help you make smart choices when it comes to other stuff. I have friends who, you know, when they start to enjoy something, they kind of buy in whole hog, and they just kind of go out and buy everything, and that's never been my style. I find that very overwhelming. But I think, I don't know. You know what? They're in funeral attire. I'm giving them all black pants. I don't care. The whole point, I wouldn't do it with the other zombies that are like standing up and shuffling, but the entire point of their pose is that they were very purposefully had a funeral and were put to rest and then pinned down. That's why they have these janky tombstones kind of nailed to them. So instead of just kind of working around them, like, nah, I'm just going to give them all black pants. Why? Because they're in funeral attire. And in my version of Ulfenkarn, that is traditional attire for a funeral. Little suit. Let's see. 2+ thoughts on the new Lumineth Realm Lord stuff. You know, I will level with you. After spending a week doing Broken Realms tech lists and stuff, I'm a little Luminethed out. So as far, I mean, and that's not to dissuade your question. I'm still going to answer your question. So my point is, like, my thoughts on it. My thoughts on it is that it should have launched with everything that they just got, and I don't understand the decision to give us the battle tome that we got first 3 months ago, or not 3 months, you know what I mean, but not long ago. We got it. When did we get that? It was right before I moved in November. I don't know. I'm more confused about the actual release, to the point where I don't understand the faction. Like, this is my real talk, of course. Remember, I'm allowed to have my own opinions. I don't have to be 100% positive all the time. But that was the one where I don't understand what they want with the faction. Or what their vision for it is, I should say. I mean, but that being said, all the new stuff really does make it feel like a full faction. Absolutely love. I think they're the Wind Chargers. I kept getting it wrong in the video. Wind Riders or Wind Chargers. I can't quite remember. But the new Cav unit, I think is absolutely terrific looking. What else? I love the Skyfox. Just a technically cool model. Honestly, it kind of reminds me of like the Eidolons, where they're just this kind of like held aloft, far in the sky thing. But yeah, so you know, there's just something about the release just it didn't sit right with me, and I can't put my finger on it. But I like where they're at now. You know, I mean, if we're just talking about, like, how do I think about the faction now? Let's pretend the last 3 months never happened. I'd say they're pretty cool. They're probably not for me. Because, you know, I'm not really sure why. You know, I look at them and I'm like, well, I kind of like my stuff to be a little bit more elite for me. If they were on... I don't know. I guess part of me, I just kind of got used to the way that Blight Kings function, with just having a couple of really beefy, thick boys on their base. And, you know, you have few models, but they're all very tough. Whereas, honestly, anymore, I see painting an entire army as a daunting task. And it's just a season. It'll come and go. That's just how hobby inspiration goes. You know? Why does it feel like my heat is on? Weird. Okay. Let's see. Oh, wait. Will, did you find you had the same level of fatigue when you did Broken Realms Marathi? No, because I feel like Marathi bounced around enough to a few different factions where Techless, it really was Lumineth versus Bone Reapers for the most part. There were a few other things sprinkled in, but those were just sideshows meant to justify, like, hey, this is why we have Nurgle rules in here or whatever. It really was very centered on them, and that's cool. I mean, that's just, you know, the way that they chose to tell the story, and I have no problem with that. It's just, after the end of it, I was just like, oh. There's a train going by. I'm sorry, there will be some annoying honking from them. Okay, so here's a question that I have. Actually, I need to pull up a picture of this set and see how they painted specifically, like, not the tombstones, but that, like, the flat piece that they're under. Let's see. Of course, Cursed City is not on their, like, suggested thing because they done sold out. Okay. I am negative, like, 1% of the time. Okay? Are you guys ready for this time? How could we have ever foreseen that this game that we spent 9 months milking your nads for could sell out so quickly? It's like, you just didn't make enough. If only you had taken some money from your marketing budget and put it straight into production. Where's the picture of the zombies? I really do apologize for the train, but if I close that window, it's going to turn into a sweat factory in here. Okay. This is a terrible picture, but the only one I can get. Let's see. It looks like it's just wood that they're on. Like, I was trying to figure out what they are using for that flat board thing that, like, is in between the zombie and the... Okay. I have very little sympathy with the we didn't understand that there was going to be so much popularity. It's just like, oh my god, are you kidding me? You've done nothing but hype this for like 6 months. Let's see. Okay, wait, there's a few questions here. I kind of got fall behind here. Alejandro, what do you think of the Mongolian Turkish aesthetics of Ulfenkarn? Oh, I love it. Yeah. Because it's a lot of textures. They have a lot of textures, like with furs and medallions and things like that. There's just a lot going on, and I love every minute of it. He still needs a sec to dry. They even released different Lumineth dice. Yes, I love it. What do you think of the new Witch Hunters GW showed off? Oh yeah, the father, daughter, take your kid to work day thing. I love it. What do I want to do next? There's so many doodads on these guys. We should do shirts for the men who have them. So he does not have a shirt. Let's get all the ladies over there. Shirt. No shirt. No shirt. Lady. Okay. I think I only have the one guy who's wearing a shirt, actually. Oh, it's not even a shirt. It's his skin, and there's ribs in there. Okay. We gotta throw just a touch more of the Rakoth on there just to clean that up. I didn't paint the flesh on there because I was like, oh yeah, you know, we'll just paint his shirt a different color. And then I realized, oh, that's not a shirt. That's his skin. Let's see. I live next to train tracks too. Yeah, it's usually not a problem because I do most of my recording ahead of time, and then it does affect exactly when I can do streams and stuff. Obviously, this one I didn't care. I just decided to flip the camera on, but it's a consideration I do most of the time. Okay. Cool. So at least the clothing is done. Now let's take care of the roots. Let's get the roots. Go with dry bark. Basing is the most annoying part for me. Me too. I hate it. There was actually oh wait, I want to see. Here's something fun we can do together. I threw up a question thing on Twitter, and so we can go through the responses together because I have a feeling there's going to be some hot takes. All right. So, you say that basing is the most annoying for me. What's a Warhammer opinion that will get you in this situation? Right? So you got a whole bunch of knives on the dude's face. The original poster started off with the rolling for priority is great fun. And I have no problems with the priority roll. Never did. I have a bigger problem with I go, you go type things. Like, I don't like how Warhammer is still, and this is 40k and AOS, where it's still the whole, like, you both line your armies up, and then one has a chance to basically just decimate you with shooting before the other person goes, instead of like a unit by unit, I go, you go. I tend to like those games a bit more, because they allow me to actually, like, use the cool toys that I've been painting rather than just pulling them off the table. But priority roll is a thing that people talk about a lot, and I'm just going to show my hand here. The people who complain about priority roll most are the ones who it wasn't priority roll that was keeping them from winning. How about that? Like, people who say, like, the game is fine except for this, I'd be like, well, if you think that's the thing that's holding you back, I'm gonna politely disagree. Just because the same people who, we have champions who win these events, and all of them almost unanimously are like, at worst can take or leave it, but at best actively like it. But I always tell people that the people who complain about competitive scenes the most were always the ones who were never gonna win it in the first place. So just kind of keep that. That's always my opinion. Again, hot take, hottest of takes. But we'll go through their thing. So my contribution to this this thread was, I had three things. For me, all bases should be solid black. Why? Because it looks consistent on any gaming surface. So for Star Wars Legion, which is a game that I gameplay-wise really, really enjoy the actual mechanical rules for it. For that, I have a Hoth army, and so I went the whole nines. I have all the bases done. I got snow and big hunks of glacial ice and that kind of stuff. I even got some snow tufts and tundra and stuff, just to kind of break it up a little bit, even though there's no snow on the ground in the movies, or grass on the snow in the movies. But, I put the work in, and then the first night of our Legion League locally, I put them on the table, and of course it's my snow bases, standing in a desert, staring down, guys on forest bases, and I'm like, well, this looks dumb now. So, if I became Warhammer president, I am taking the bases back. Let me move this chat so I can actually see it. For my second one, 40k needs an end times lore. Not so much because I think it is, like, bad where it is. Just like I didn't think fantasy was bad where it was at necessarily. But the thing is that the longer you keep a concurrent narrative going, the harder it is for new folks to jump in on that. And I think a lot of good came from moving forward with AOS the way that they did. I mean, not the way that they did. The way they did was terrible as far as just not communicating with their customer base. But in terms of like the big reset and that kind of stuff, it was a great way to be like, here's some new heroes, here's some new concepts, we can move in a different direction, get us some lady space marines without neo-Nazis having a fit, all those kinds of things. That was in jest, everybody. Hope we're all adult enough to have a good lull. But you know what I mean. It was just like, there are just advancements we can make by shuffling off some of the old lore, which actually is my third point, is just canon lore doesn't mean mandatory. So, for example, I listened to a podcast called the 40K Badcast, which is more humor than it is 40K. Okay, so it's just, if you're looking for something that's just entertaining, whether you know a lot about 40K or not, I do recommend that. They do cuss a lot, not safe for work. Just kind of keep that out there. But it's very entertaining, and one of the guys plays Raven Guard. Now, if you don't know, in 40K, Raven Guard are like the emo kids. Okay, they historically, they have always kind of, whenever they become Space Marines, they kind of look like their Primarch, the person that they're genetically based off of, and that guy is like basically alabaster white skin and that kind of stuff. Well, this host of this show wanted to mix it up a bit, and so he put them some, we'll say multi-ethnic, because it wasn't, you can't call somebody a specific race because they're from all over space. But, just different colored skins, and somebody got on their case online about that, like, oh, they should all have, pure white skin. He says, like, no, just do whatever you want. Again, canon doesn't mean mandatory. And, for people who ask me for lore advice, because I do get a large amount of emails from people who they mean well, and they're so sweet. They're like, I want to know if I can have my army painted like this, but still have it be lore wise that they come from this other specific place. And I'm like, dude, just do whatever you want. Just do whatever you want. There's no canon police gonna come in and kick your door in and be like, excuse me, Catacross isn't a part of this legion. You know what I mean? Just do whatever you want. Oh, man. That's the thing. 40K needs an end times because... So I'm reading Chaos Incarnate. Because the community is so negative that those should be called like the... Oh, yeah. Like the bad actors in fantasy battles were. All right. I was just talking, so I'm just going to start reading off some of the responses because I'm curious as what you guys think of some of these. So, if you're thinking to yourself, wow, did I just tune in to my grandma having a stream where she reads tweets? The answer is absolutely. Hi, this is Hanging Out with Doug. I will go down to the downward cam here, though, so it's at least a little more interesting and relevant to look at. Stay tuned next for Doug Reads the News. Okay. Or just reads the weather report. Let's see. One guy says, I was just talking to guys about the story about how the Emperor dying would be the perfect equivalent. Oh, yeah, that would be rad. See here? Yeah, exactly. So the Emperor is a perpetual, so kill him, he's reborn, and then we can just pretty much just start the whole thing all over again and just... Who needs the Horus Heresy when we can have the Reboot Gilliman Heresy or something equally as ridiculous? Age of Rebooty. It's going to be great. Catch the fever, everybody. I'll be honest, so I am attracted to the setting of 40K because of Necromunda. Like that very dark dystopian future. It's kind of grinding oppression and that kind of stuff. But the problem is every time I try to get into 40K, like with an army, there's no way to capture that feeling in an army. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like, maybe the Adeptus Mechanicus is the closest, with that kind of like creepy primeval thing mixed with, high-tech, dark, futuristic fantasy. But I just don't feel like there's a way to play... if they had an army that was just like the Necromundan detachment, I could throw in my gangers... they would get murdered 10 ways till Sunday by Space Marines in droves, but by golly, it's what I'd want. Of course, I could do Chaos Cultist, but that's just, I don't know. At that point, I'm looking for, ways to use my models in existing armies instead of having a game or a faction that represents the everyman doing something. I don't know. Yeah, Gene Stealer Cult. Sorry, I was looking downward at the paint. But, yeah. So anyway, having the Emperor die, that's a pretty, I'm going to say a safe bet to how things could go topsy-turvy real quick. Like I said, he doesn't have to stay dead. He's a perpetual. That's the idea, is that he can come back multiple times. So it's just like, even in saying that the Emperor dies, like, he doesn't really. It's just a story reset. An opportunity for him to come back and do it again, but less dumb. Let's see. Vernon, do you think Legions of Nagash will get an update, or do you think they'll keep expanding death? My understanding, my guess, is that Legions of Nagash will stop being supported as a battle tome. Oh, cool. Dogs are outside. That's always nice. Will stop being supported as a battle tome when Soulblight launches. Between the items that we know are going out of stock on the GW site and the fact that pretty much all War Scrolls have a place in either Soulblight or Bone Reapers, meaning like, Nagash, Arcan, those kinds of things. And then we have the vampires being able to control, honestly, most everything else. I think most things will have a home in those two books. What'll happen to the rest, I do not know. But that's my understanding of the events right now. There are still some units that don't fit seamlessly into either. But then the question becomes, like, what are they going to get rid of? If they get rid of anything, or is there another book that they intend to bring out with those? And that's where we get the speculation, and that's kind of where I tap out. I just know I had a good friend who manages a Games Workshop store reach out with his kind of theories about, just kind of based on how they're allowed to order things, because GW managers, they know as much as we do. That was kind of his estimation. And I'm okay with it, to be honest with you. I think Legions of Nagash was a great idea to speed things up and get rules in the hands of people, because AOS was becoming bigger. It was recovering from its horrific launch, and, it lasted at least 8 times longer than the first Lumineth battle tome, so my god, it's had a good life cycle to it as a publication. That's how I'm going to start measuring everything now. 4 Lumineth releases from now. Which just means 1 year. Let's see. I think Nagash just needs to be included in an army Gotrek style. Well, Jordan, that's a great point. One of the things I was surprised they didn't do was have him be more like, well, I guess he kind of is now, more like Archaon, the Chaos. Because now, he has his own book, Slaves to Darkness, but keyword-wise, he can be just about anywhere. He won't get all the synergies, just like Archaon doesn't have Hedonites or Maggotkin, but he has Nurgle, so he can be in the army. And I'm okay with that. Like, if that's kind of what they're leaning towards with these big heavy hitters. Because I just feel like it's already hard enough to represent a literal god on a table. That, like, having the added benefit of, oh yeah, and he's good at everything under this Grand Alliance is like, that's a rough sell. Let me see if that helps better with the dog barking. That's just driving me nuts. Okay, let's go back to our poll here. Controversial hobby opinions. Gun barrels don't need to be drilled out. I agree with that. I don't give a crap about your gun barrels. If you're a grown human being standing hopefully 6 feet away from someone you're playing a game with, and you can see the fact that they have their gun barrels not drilled out, and you care enough to remark on that, you need more love in your life. That's all. I'm going to throw that out there. Boom. Don't make anyone feel bad for how they model things. That's really what I'm getting at. Let's see. But Archaon has the Hedonite keyword. I don't think he has Hedonite. I mean, I might be wrong. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I thought he has Slaanesh, which means he can be brought into a Slaanesh army. But Hedonite's a very specific synergy word. I could be wrong. Someone please tell me if I'm wrong. This is why you should never trust YouTubers. We just say stuff. I remind people of that. Whenever anyone's like, oh, but I heard on Warhammer Weekly or The Honest Wargamer, I'm like, we all just say stuff and hope it's real. Sometimes we go through the work of having math on our side, and most of the times we don't. Let's see. So here we have, what do we got? We got 2 left. Oh my god, thank goodness. I like the models. They're very busy for, quite frankly, how cheap they are points-wise. He has the Hedonite keyword on the online war scroll. Okay, well, I stand corrected. Does he have Maggotkin as well? Did they give him everything? Maybe the Hedonite one's a bad example, but I feel like... Let's see. Archaon. I'm pulling up his war scroll right now. Because my point was not so much Hedonites as it was Khorne, Tzeentch, Slaanesh. Weird. Why does he have Hedonite but not all of them? Huh, I learned something new. I've never had a reason to look at this war scroll since Slaves to Darkness came out again. I mean, like, for the keywords, but yeah. Everchosen? Khorne? Why not? Because what? Khorne would be Bloodbound, Tzeentch would be Disciples. No, Arcanites. Nurgle would be Maggotkin. Okay. Well, anyway, that's what I was talking about, was that core idea of, like, you can have a hero with all of, like, the generic necessary keywords, but he doesn't have to have the ones for every sub-faction. For whatever reason, he has them for Slaanesh, so there you go. There's your missing war scroll that y'all were desperately looking for. Oh, maybe it's to make sure that he counted towards... Well, I don't know. I got nothing. But I'll be honest, I'm not too worried about it. You forgot the Mary Sue keyword. No, that's just Dorgar. One thing I have mentioned, and so with Broken Realms Be'lakor hopefully coming out soon, one thing I've mentioned multiple times when it comes to Archaon is that I'm never angry when Archaon comes onto the scene and immediately kills whoever he just instant kills whoever he's fighting. I don't care about that. He's supposed to be that strong. That's totally fine. What I don't like is that every single time, and you can go read every single campaign book that he's a part of and everything, it's never Archaon who actually wins the fight. It's always Dorgar, his mount. And I don't know why, but like it just annoys the hell out of me. It's like, okay, he's not cool. His ride is. I'm like, make him cool. Get off the freaking monster just to beat somebody once. You know, or do the cool thing where it's like he gets off and he's just like wading through battle, and Dorgar's like up in the sky nearby just in case he needs something. But every single fight ends with, and then Dorgar ate the guy, or then Dorgar clawed his face apart, and you're just like, well, it seems like Dorgar's the real Lord of Chaos here, not Archaon. Why don't we worship that guy? That's my opinion. Hello, friend. You just showed up in my feed. Have fun painting my man. Oh, thank you. Very kind of you. I think I will. I'll take that advice. How many Broken Realms do you think there will be, and who deserves one? You know, did they ever say how many there were going to be? I feel like, I'll be honest, I can't keep up with the Games Workshop announcements because some stuff they say during a live stream that I think that they said and they didn't. I don't know. As far as how many I think there will be, I'll be honest, I don't have a single clue. We know there's at least 2 more, right? Be'lakor and Kragnos, or whatever his name is. Do I think there will be any more than that? I think the only one that I'm specifically like, I want to see this, right? I have 2, and that would be Alariel having, if not her own book, then having her be like the main character of one. So for example, we saw Kragnos, the cover art, and we saw what looks like the Kurnothi kind of character types standing there below as it kind of panned out. If you haven't seen that reveal, go check out the reveal show. But so we have that. So like, okay, well, if it's a narrative that involves whatever, but at some point it brings in the Kurnothi and that Alariel's a part of that, man, I'm all about that. So I think she needs presence. And then also, what's the other one? Oh, Gordrak. Gordrak needs to be an avatar straight up murder. Sweet. Okay, so he's dry now. Let's grab our pallid witch flesh and our Army Painter Masterclass dry brush. Did the Seraphon turn up? Nope. Nope. They're taking a beat. They're just chilling. They haven't. I mean, my thing is, I'll be honest. I think Morathi and Wrath of the Everchosen, which at this point I pretty much consider the first Broken Realms book, I think those 2 were terrific. I'm less hyped about Broken Realms Techless because, you know, when people saw that, like, oh man, Maggotkin's gonna be in this, and Cities of Sigmar again, and all these kinds of things, people got really excited. In Broken Realms Morathi, I felt like those factions who got rules and supplements were like real major characters. Like the Deepkin did stuff in that book, you know, they were a major player. The Cities of Sigmar, was super important. All the different cities that got rules for like Harcuron, which is what they renamed Anvilgard when they seized it, like that mattered. All kinds of cool stuff. Whereas with Broken Realms Techless, I feel like they just kind of included random side stories to justify, oh yeah, here's why these guys have rules. And so it's like, it's easy to say like, oh man, I really want like Seraphon to show up. Like, I also want Seraphon to show up, but I want Seraphon to show up meaningfully, right? Don't just have them be like, and also the lizards were there, which is just easy to do. Like, nah, give them a role in the story and have them fit in a meaningful way. They said Kragnos would be the last one. Okay. I could see that. There's a lot of chatter about having a third edition come out in the summertime. Which, that would sound about right, I would think. I don't know how true it is. Don't particularly care. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about a third edition. Let me ask that to y'all. How do you feel about having a new edition of AOS, and what would you like from it? I will go first because there's a delay between when I ask questions and when I see your answers, so I'll go ahead and fill that time. For me, I'll be honest with you, AOS is not a game that I play very much. Like, I love the setting, love the lore. I actually love Soulbound, the RPG version. But in terms of mass battle army games, it's actually not my fave, because, quite frankly, of rules bloat. The thing that has always been the bane of Games Workshop since the days of yore, where it just, you need so many books, things get more complicated over time. There's rules interactions to like whole shows are dedicated. I mean, I deeply appreciate the guys over at Warhammer Weekly because they discuss rules in a way that makes them very easily understandable. Like Vince will be like, hey, this is what it says. An easier way to say that would have been blank, and they basically re-explain the rule in an easier to understand format. It's like, that shouldn't have to exist. It strays further from being intuitive, and I don't know. So as far as like what I would want in a third edition, really all I'm looking for is give me Crusade from 40K. If you're not familiar, Crusade is like their kind of like their Path to Glory equivalent, where, yeah, I guess it is kind of like that, where you slow grow your army and it's like a narrative focus, but it's its own distinct format. Like, it is a very specific format. I was like, you know what, that I could do that. Give me that. I'm not interested in tournaments or events and that kind of stuff. I just want to have some cool models and roll them around. Sorry, I don't know what happened to my throat there. Because the truth is, like, there are other game companies out there who are doing really cool things too. That there's an event in, I think it's Omaha, coming up here, and I'm having a real tough time choosing. Like, okay, well, I know I'm going to go to it after I get vaccinated and everything. But then the question is, like, what do I want to play? It's like, well, there's a Marvel Crisis Protocol event there too. Honestly, kind of want to play that more. I can't keep up with G-dubs the way it is. I'm a lore guy. I go where the story leads me. But it just, because like rules bloat and that kind of stuff, it just kind of grew out of my comfort zone as far as I enjoy this game versus I need to be a student of this hobby to be able to keep up, I don't know. Let's see. I'd like to see the double turn go away. I'm in the minority there, but no, I don't. I mean, I don't think you are. I think a lot of folks have trouble with it. Don't care for it. Me personally, there are so many other bigger things that I'm worried about. But I understand what you mean. Like, I mean, when I say bigger things, I don't mean to minimize what you just said. That was very rude of me. I apologize. What I mean is like their entire business model of just keep releasing more books. Like it's a systematic thing versus a specific mechanic. So I apologize. I didn't mean to minimize you there. But yeah, so like that's totally cool. Not everybody digs the double turn. I understand. I wonder if they ever would. I don't know. Sometimes I just like to think about that. It's like, I wonder. Sometimes I wish I could talk to someone on the design team, not about like, secrets about what's coming next, or just like, hey guys, what do you think about the double turn? You know what I mean? Just like have coffee, maybe a beer. But Games Workshop is not super into that level of freedom for their design team. I understand it's pretty hush hush. True Games Workshop rules for the game feel like a 6-day read. Yeah, and that's honestly like that's when I moved here, I was like, okay, we're gonna go full time, and I was well aware, by that time lockdown was in full effect, and that I was not gonna move to Iowa and suddenly crush a bunch of games and have just immediately start playing. But there's not a large 40k, not a large AOS scene. There is a large 40k scene here. But man, it's hard to get 40k players to, people who are familiar with the way Games Workshop does their business with, FOMO, fear of missing out as a sales strategy, and how constantly changing books are and that kind of stuff. It's hard to get 40k players to invest in another Games Workshop system. And then for new players, it's hard to get them to understand why anybody would do this at all. And it's like, well, I mean, I'm already having trouble selling to the people who already bought into your sales format. That's not great. Might be a herald of problems ahead, but whatever. I actually had a wonderful discussion with someone. This was years ago at this point, but they were commenting that, man, it seems like no company could ever stand a chance against Games Workshop, right? That they just dominate the industry so heavily, and they, invest in models and sculpts and that kind of stuff so intensely that like nobody could ever compete with them. And that's when they started opening up and being more online and social, we saw the decline of a lot of games like Malifaux and Infinity. Not that they've gone away. They're still around. If you enjoy them, please play them. But the Games Workshop definitely stole the scene, I think it's fair to say, for a bit. And I said, well, here's the thing. Like all those other companies, they just got to weather the storm, because nobody stays on top forever. Ever. And, it's misgivings like that of like, oh, we'll just release a new book to fix it. Like, that's exactly why some people leave. You can't keep up with the rat race that is, staying in your hobby that you created. I think 500 board games could easily have a skirmish style variant. Yeah, that's what I mean. So when I say I wanted it to be like how 40k has Crusade, if you're not familiar, yeah, it is roughly, you can go as low as I think 500, but there's 1k variants. But yeah, you just slow grow. You just add a unit here, add a unit there, that kind of thing. And I was just like, that's what we need. Some non-competitive, like when you say, hey, I'm doing an event that's whatever it's called, that format, you're just like, okay, so I'm coming for a narrative time. I have a smaller pool of models I can build. I have more restrictions, but I'll know exactly what kind of game I'm playing. And then we have stuff like Warcry, which I love. Warcry, really do love the game. Don't really know what they want to do with it. If I'm honest with you, because they kind of alternate from like, you should buy it, check out this thing, we're gonna promote it and really chat about it, to Warcry, what the hell is that? You know, acting like they never heard of it before. Oh man. Kings of War is also a great palate cleanser. Interesting. MCP, A Song of Ice and Fire, Star Wars Legion, Dust 47 are all great palate cleansers. I will tell you, I have fallen head over heels for Marvel Crisis Protocol. It's a game that is supported locally by my local store, about like a mile up the road, and because he doesn't sell Games Workshop products, out of principle, which, you know, is his own business. I mean, he can run his store however he wants, but he doesn't support Games Workshop stores or products, and so he does everything as Asmodee, which is the parent company for Atomic Mass Games, i.e. the guys who do Star Wars Legion and what's the other one? Marvel Crisis Protocol. Gotta say, MCP, so fun. It's just, yeah, I like skirmish games when you have fewer models that all mean more on the table. It's totally cool. Now, Kings of War, I never got into it. As someone who consumes GW games quickly, that's not a bad principle to have. Fair enough. What I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to get some Black Templar. A little Black Templar there. A little bit of Wildwood. Cadia, don't get me wrong. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's where I'm at. You know, I understand that one of the reasons I don't complain very much online is, quite frankly, like, you know, I think it's important to be an ambassador for the hobby. And at the end of the day, I love this hobby. You know, I love Games Workshop, and I want them to succeed. And part of that sometimes just means being like, bro, here's a sore spot the community's having, and like not being able to keep up or know where the games are at and that kind of stuff. Like, it's a legitimate pain point, and it has less to do with people. You know, I always hated the childish answers of like, oh, Games Workshop, they're evil and they're Ivory Tower or whatever. Like, no, I mean, they're gamers. You know, that's not the issue. The issue is they don't know what we're thinking, and they don't know the pain points that we have. But of course, that's just me being optimistic, you know. So what I'm doing now is I mixed some contrast black with the brown. And I'm kind of loosely making stripes on his back. Then I'm going to go back with the black later, and we'll pick it out there. Nice. I'm years behind and slowly trying to catch up with all the GW lore books. I'm still in the Realm Gate Wars. I love the Realm Gate Wars, honestly. I thought they were fantastic. They were actually, I mean, that was the first series of books that I personally read that I was like, this is freaking awesome. Why is no one talking about Age of Sigmar? And that's when I started the channel. Like, for real skis. I love that series. Curse City have a one-shot mode where you can play a single game outside of the campaign. Yes. For that, they recommend doing what's called the Hunt Journey, which is just you venture into the city and pick a fight with somebody. Yeah, so that's kind of the closest thing. It is a one-off thing. If you just don't want to have any ramifications from that, it doesn't advance anything. So yeah, that's what I would probably say. Let's see. There's so many other great games that deserve time in the spotlight. Yeah, there are. And I'll be honest with you, it's always a struggle with this channel of just like, Douglas Griggs, enjoy a lot of different things. But the question is, for the purposes of the channel, what do people generally want to watch? And of course, obviously, I've made, I don't know if you guys know this, a bit of name for myself as like talking about AOS a lot. But, it gets hard when it's like, well, there are just other companies doing interesting, innovative things. That I'd love to talk about that they don't, but every time I do a video about other games, say Wild West Exodus or Infinity, they just don't do as well. And not that I feel like I'm trapped or anything like that, but at a certain point, if I want to make this a business, I do got to go where the people want me to. To some extent. Folks have always been really cool about like, oh, this is just something that Doug seems to be clearly passionate about, so I'll watch it. But this coming week, I'm actually going to be talking quite a bit about Dystopian Wars. If you're not familiar, it is a naval combat game set in the same universe as Wild West Exodus. They requested a few videos, so that's the plan there. I'm loving them. Love the longer epic stories to the smattering short stories, but the Call of Archaon short series. Oh, yeah. The Call of Archaon series is quite honestly one of my favorite book collections, story collections, I should say. Very cool. Oh my gosh, Will, you're too good to me, man. You build me up way too much. I promise. Jack from Rerolling Ones can attest. I'm not all that nice. Let's see. Are you planning to get into or do content on the old world when it finally drops? Well, I will say this. I'll talk about whatever Games Workshop sends me. If they do decide to send me a copy of Old World and stuff like that, I will absolutely talk about it because people want to know. Am I going to go out of my way? Probably not. Let's see. Not because, that's the thing is I don't have any problem with the Old World. If I'm honest with you, I had a lot of problems when I first tried to get into the hobby. So if you don't know my story, basically, I started off playing War Machine and Hordes, which is a game. There's a wonderful local group of people. And like locally here, they really incentivized model painting and that kind of stuff. And I had an absolute blast. It was the best possible introduction to, the capital H hobby, as it were. So, miniature wargaming as a whole, that kind of stuff. Really had a wonderful time. Great people. And then, I started like learning like, there's like stories behind these games. And I really started getting involved in the lore aspect. which of course was not Privateer Press's like strength, but they didn't really claim that to be. They claimed to have a very balanced rule set. So then I started looking around, and I did find Warhammer Fantasy Battles, and there was a tournament going on the day I discovered it. And so after watching them, I immediately went and picked up an Island of Blood set about 3 months before AOS dropped. Now, the reason all this is important is because in that time, as I was trying to learn more about the game and the old world and all this kinds of stuff, it became very clear that there are a myriad of bad actors and all-around scuzzy people who were really into the old world and got really mad when GW changed things and went to AOS. And I'm not sorry to see them gone. But the thing is like when you reopen that box, all the people who had all that accumulated knowledge of what they think everything should be like, quote unquote, should be, you invite them back in. And as a personality who does content, on one hand I'm like, people should always play what they love. Yeah, absolutely. Come back in, whatever. As someone who is going to have to deal with a comment section of actually people, I rue the day I ever decided to make a YouTube channel. So I'm of a few minds about it, where it's like, on one hand, I'm excited. I don't have a personal connection to the old world, because it went away before I really got a chance to get invested. It has nothing to do with the actual content. But at the same time, it's like, to quote Spaceballs, that was then. We're at now. And I want to focus on news stories and stuff. So I'm kind of in a little bit of a pickle. I'm not quite sure how to feel about that. But then again, I'm not really sure how to feel about anything, because Games Workshop really hasn't given any details about what Old World is. I hope that makes sense. I hope I didn't just sound like a total dick, but you know what I mean? It's just when you hop online and the first interactions you have are just really awful people saying gross things and just being mean to one another. It's like, this is not really a community I want to be a part of. And I just am concerned about inviting some of those bad actors back in. Not as a content creator, but as me, Doug, a person who also enjoys this hobby. Anyway, I realize I just rambled on there for like 15 minutes, but I assume that's what you're all here for. So, yeah. We're not all spammers. Spammers. Let's see. You must be nice, Doug. I haven't seen you play Shootcast yet. Played against it enough times. My goodness. FU Mark War Machine. Yep. War Machine and Hordes. They were super fun. I mean, I played... What was I playing? It was 2nd edition. So I jumped in right when 2nd edition launched, I believe. And then I was already out of it by the time their 3rd edition, the Cluster F, that is, their 3rd edition launched. Okay. He still looks like he's drying a bit. Let's get some Xandri dust up in here. Keep doing you. Let's see. Enjoying Warhammer? Aren't you supposed to be fighting about it? Exactly. Oh, man. So the reason that I never played any Games Workshop games when I first started in the hobby, mini wargaming total, was because, I had my awesome War Machine and Hordes group of, like, I think there were at the best, like, 18 of us. Very consistent group. And then on 40K nights, which is the only exposure to Games Workshop as a product line or as a company that I had, I came in to see what their game was like, and it was literally 3 guys yelling at each other. Like, I walked in, And immediately I walked in on them like clearly having a moment, and I was like, oh, that's not good. I definitely don't just want to walk up and be like, hey guys, I'm here to learn about 40k when they're like mid scream at each other. And so then I just kind of meandered around the store for a bit, and I had come specifically to learn about 40k. Like I was ready to like ask them questions and like make a purchase. And I just kind of meandered around in the store for a bit, pretending that that was definitely not why I was there. And then just after about 10 minutes, I was like, well, I think I've seen enough to make a decision, and then just walked away. I don't know why the store manager didn't just be like, knock it off. You know what I mean? Like, just clearly, I mean, even if I wasn't there to potentially buy anything, just how does a person not want them to stop yelling in their store? So I was just like, this is just not what I need in my life right now. Oh, man. Oh, yes. If you mark, yeah, there's plenty of channels like that, but I believe I know who you're talking about. That's a poor first impression, if any. Well, exactly, you know, and I understand. So, things that I have learned about myself over the years is I have learned in the last maybe like 9 months or so that I am a personality that over empathizes, and I mean that to a detriment of like, I can get paralyzed with thinking about what other people are trying to think or understand. So for example, like, I'll give you a great example. There was a point in time where I was very frustrated with the Honest Wargamer Rob. And the reason I was is because at one point, it was like the weekend when Ossiarch Bone Reapers and Ogre Maw Tribes dropped. Before the book was ever out, he had already written it off. These are terrible, this is broken, and all this kinds of stuff. Now, whether or not those books were well balanced isn't the point. I think he was wrong about Ogre Maw Tribes. He was probably right about Bone Reapers. Okay, so like just throwing that out there. Whether that was the point or not is irrelevant. It was, my perception immediately went into overdrive of like, if I was new to the hobby and before a product released, somebody told me it was terrible, what does that mean to me as someone who wants to get into this? For me, those kinds of decisions of telling someone something is bad before it ever hits the market is like, I have no interest in that. I don't have an interest in the cutthroat competitiveness. I don't have an interest in people telling me what is good and what is bad in a hobby that's really just all bad, because it's all a waste of money and we're all just here playing with toy soldiers, let's be honest. That's not where I want to spend my time. And so for a period of time, I was very aggravated with him. And I have very much since let that go. I wish him the best. We just have different views of what we want out of the hobby. That's all. Want him to succeed, you know? I mean, there's not many of us who do AOS full time. He's one of them. That's awesome. Nothing but the best. At the same time, that event was important for me because I realized, like, my brain immediately went to, how does this affect new people? And I think it's just a matter of, I think Games Workshop needs people like me and like Rob, where it's like, yes, we need people to make sure that the game functions properly as a product, which is kind of his thing of like, this is well balanced within the game, this is not well balanced within the game. But at the same time, that's not the person that needs to be in the front facing for customers. It's the guy who understands, I need to get you excited about this, whether or not it's good in the game. You need to be excited about what you're playing and excited about the table thing. And I do care about, you know, you care about how your audience perceives things and that kind of stuff. So it's just, you know, there's a whole lot of those. It's a mix, and that's the lesson that I've had to learn this year. And that's where I'm at, you know. It's just all the people working together to make the hobby happen. But my over empathizing of just, and I say that it's a negative. It is emphatically a negative, because it prevents me from seeing like, well, some folks just really enjoy the competitive side of things, and they're not focused on how new players perceive our internal squabbles. It's like, well, to me, it's like, that's all there is, because if there's no new people, this hobby shuts down. But, you know, and again, we are both absolutely right unto our priorities. So it's just kind of been a learning experience. Anyway, I don't even know how I got there. I apologized. Going on a long rant there. Let's see. Oh, I guess my point is, yeah, as far as first impressions go, that's why I got kind of worked up with that. And I do think first impressions are the most important thing. You never get a second one. And there's just nothing more appealing, or nothing less appealing than walking into a game store and seeing people argue, and you're like, yeah, that's what I want to do on my Friday nights. That's what I want to do when I put my kids to bed. I want to talk about nothing but things that raise my blood pressure. Okay. Let's see. I was really put off by the tabletop scene in my city as a kid because nearby game board store meetups were the angriest people playing games. Yeah, no, absolutely. And, you know, it also just comes down to sometimes personality types. Like, because I know I'll go to events and they'll be like, man, I think that guy is trying to cheat. And, you know, most of the time, I encourage this, always assume ignorance, right? The times where people have cheated against me is they just didn't understand, right? Like a Legion Nagash player who didn't fully understand the resummoning thing. Like, he wasn't trying to cheat. He just didn't know. But anyway, for the people who do actively try and cheat, it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, well, I don't care, because if they feel the need to cheat against me, who is a bottom tier player of this game, they clearly emotionally need this win far more than I do. Oh my gosh, where you're just like, you know, man, if you need this in your life so bad that you are willing to deceive another human being for the W, right, for the win, I was like, you know what, man, you can just take it. I'm just gonna go get a beer, call my wife. Live, laugh, love. Let's see. You and Arvandis are my go-to. Is he still making content? For some reason, my YouTube is so weird about what it notifies me on. Because, like, I've been subbed to him because we both started around the same time. But I never get notifications about his content no matter what I do. Which I've been told a few times people have the same issue with me, so I don't know what the issue is with YouTube's. We are Timmy. What's up, Brent? Brent's my hobby hero, by the way, everybody. Nobody else is quite as cool as him. Brent, you're the coolest. These rules are totally broken and unbalanced. And then me and Brent are just like, yeah, so when do you want to start rolling dice? 9:30? Okay, cool. Let's see. This is why I play orcs in 40k. Don't care about winning. Exactly. Brent from Rolling Ones, the same beard, yes. I finally found the only store in my country that sold Warhammer. They were toxic, yeah. Came in here and Doug is dropping truth. Oh my gosh. Well, you know, it's just... Actually, you know who's far more interesting to talk about when it comes to, like, first impressions? This guy Strengthhammer, also a literal Warhammer hero, of just, like, you know, he's out here running major events at Nova and stuff, and it's like, he's still cool enough to be approachable. That's like a rare thing, man. Good on you. I got some gray sear on the brush, so I'm going to throw some on the hair here. We'll have her... It's not going to... Oh, it's going to be white, but it's not going to stay white for very long because we're going to grossify all these gals up. With washes and junk here pretty soon. Yeah. Let's see. Are the Mortarks fully autonomous now? We actually don't know, because we don't... The story ended right when Nagash had his fall, so we don't know the full implications of it yet. I'm hoping the next book, or at least the... If not the next Broken Realms book, then the next Battle Tome, the one for Soulblight, will expand upon that. My hunch is yes. My tinfoil hat conspiracy is that Manfred in Broken Realms Teclis wanted to fail so that Nagash would fail, so that he would be sidelined for a bit, and that Manfred can make his play. Not that he'll get his own book or anything like that, but just that he can be more autonomous. That's all I mean. You know, once the old man's in the ground, then I can have my moment. Kind of a deal. Let's see. How many realm gates are broken now? A ton. But I feel like they, like, if a writer ever puts themselves in a corner in a Warhammer book, the writer just immediately, like, just windmill slams the button that says, break the realm gate! Boom! Pound the alarm. That's basically it. Straight up. That just seems to be the way to get out of every situation. There's a nearby realm gate. Well, they're everywhere, apparently. Couldn't grab Curse City, too high a price and no one to play with. How often do you manage to get games in your area? Well, Curse City is technically not really like out yet. So don't, if you mean like how often do I play AOS? I think since moving to Iowa in November, I have played one game, and it was a 1,000-point like learn to play type thing. There are like 3 guys locally that are kind of excited to learn. But yeah, honestly, for the most part, I have been playing non-GW games because they're so much easier to get in reliably. Let's see. I play Skaven. If I lose, I blame my underling. Exactly. That's how you do it. Just gonna throw in some, I think we'll call it flare color on him here. I think that's about good for him. I'm going to throw one quick dry brush on the fur just to have it pop just a tiny bit. And then I think we're going to do the silver on all of the railings. And then we will knock out the wash. Because once everything's washed, you know, there's not much to do but wait. But know what these things are supposed to be. These, like, they look like they put a cuckoo clock on the top of their gravesite, and you're like, well, that looks interesting. What an interesting way to let everyone know you're still alive. Okay, let's just go one by one then. If Selenar is a moon spirit, that means there's a moon. And if Hish has a moon, Does that mean Hish is a planet? So the realms are like discs, and they do have moons that go over them. Actually has, I believe, 3 moons. If I'm counting right. But yeah, it does in fact have a moon. Let's go over here. With all the realm gates breaking, would that not limit Sigmar's reach? Well, here's the thing. You're forgetting that there exists one realm gate that can never be broken, and that is, of course, the plot gate. The plot gate. I'm saying this in jest, by the way, if you can catch my drift. Is there's always at least one more realm gate than you think there is that needs to move the plot forward. So, when I do my next Stormcast army, round, what will that be? 3, 4? I'm going to have them be the defenders of the plot gate so they can go wherever they need to be. Oh, that'd be sad. Oh, rad. I mean, like the plot gate wardens. Oh, that'd be so cool. No, but I see what you mean. Yes, he keeps destroying the gates, but we're never told how many there are, so there's always at least just enough to keep the story going. So, in theory, yes, it's very bad to destroy a realm gate, just like you said. In practice, no consequences at all. Maybe that plot gate is breaking, hence the broken realms. Oh man, yeah, that'd be rad. But it's Games Workshop. If it's not a plot gate, it's going to be the plot beast or the plot god, or they got to have something, And it has to fit into the general naming conventions of blood, wolf, skull. This is the Thunder Cuckoo Falconbird gate, the garden plot. The lore of the zombies being staked to the ground so that they don't turn into vampires is really awesome and make backpack tombstones a lot cooler. Yeah. Age of Sigmar is over. It's time for Age of Nagash. Well, it sounds like Nagash just got straight up punked into the dirt. So I'm going to give you a counterpoint and say, if it's Age of Nagash, it's over before it started. Chaboy took a straight licking in the last book, so I'm not sure if that's quite in the cards, but you know what I'd be in for? I'd be up for an Age of Alariel. Age of that random dude from the 4th book. Yeah, Kragnar or Kragnarak or whatever the heck his name is. I forget it every single time. Kragnos, there we go. Although, I mean, if your name is Kragnos, you have to call your master plan the Kragnarok, right? I mean, come on. That's just 101. Hello, I have pre-ordered Curse City at my local shop with 40k Gravelords and Warcry. I think I have to pass. Hello, I have pre-ordered Curse City Mug Store, but with... Oh, okay, so you ordered it, but you're not sure you want to own it? Well, my friend, you will find no shortage of buyers for that if you wish to sell. And that's totally fine. However, I will just simply say, Prime Night, as someone who sells armies faster than I can breathe. I would just caution, if you don't want it, you need to make sure that before you sell it that you truly don't want it. Like it's up there with like asking someone to marry you, apparently, on the level of things you need to be extra pretty sure of, because it's one of those things that like we never know how distribution is going in the world anymore, or how long it'll be around, that kind of stuff. You just gotta be sure. So I decided I'm only putting the gross rot wash on the bodies that come up from underground. Everything on top will be, like on the graveyard on their back, will be nice and clean. No, Kragnarok. Oh, there's always puns. There's always puns. You can't escape them. I think I might actually only do half these guys with the green stuff, because it's very intense. I don't remember it being this intense, but it might have dried up a bit since I last used it. So I think for the other ones, I'm actually going to switch to a Agrax Earthshade. Let's see. Oh, you've only booked a copy that your store is getting in. Right on. Suggestion stands, though. If you have a booked copy, just think about what you want to do before you do anything drastic. The worst thing you can do is regret a decision. How about that? That's what I always tell people if folks ask me for advice when it comes to selling models and stuff. It's just like, I do it because I have no regrets, but I find that many other folks do. I think once I get these washes on, I have to hop off because for some reason my heat keeps kicking on even though it shouldn't. And I am slowly melting in here. What's your opinion of the Starblood Stalkers for Underworld? So I don't play Underworlds yet. I want to get into it with the stuff that's coming out this week. So I can't answer it in terms of like game mechanic question, but in terms of models, I think they're great. If that was a glimpse of what Seraphon could be in the future, I would say I'm all for it, with the asterisk that they just need to be included in the stories more. I feel like right now the writers are like, these are the heroes of order, these defenders of nobility, and also there's some lizards there sometimes, but only when they want to be, and that's pretty much the lore of the Seraphon, is just they're there sometimes. You can't count on them, but lizards. And I don't think that's cool. Like there definitely be more. They should have like a permanent base or something like that. I don't know. Something to get attached to. Is what I'm saying. All right, my friends. I'm going to go ahead and hop off. But thank you all so much for joining me and letting me just rant at you for a bit. I feel like I talked a lot about myself today and I don't usually try to. Anyway, thank you so much for hanging out with me and I will catch you next time. Happy wargaming.